Okay, Mayfield and the whole heckin' world. Time for an update. People have been, I don't know what it is, maybe it must be Halloween. Come around the corner. A few people have suggested, are you making a big spider out here in the yard? It's like, no. A few people pull up and go, oh wow, that looks like you're putting in a garden, and like immediately grasp it. Most people are like, what's going on here? What are you doing? So here's more update. I have been digging away, and I'd say I'm probably 2/3 of the way done digging. And you can see these long paths, these trenches, and these raised beds. And basically, all I'm gonna be doing here, I gotta clean these up, right, go deeper here, is, I wanted to trench these and put gravel. We're gonna, play the free game a little longer. And so I'm gonna fill all these trenches, these deep trenches up with compostables, branches, leaves, wood chips, brown cardboard, all that stuff. And just, basically in the future, we'll be able to scoop everything out as finished compost, using the paths and people walking on them as, the composting space for this garden. And we'll just scoop it out and then, do another deeper trench with gravel later on. We're talking maybe like a $400 or $500 additional cost to this garden to do the gravel landscaping right for this whole space. So first time around, we're just gonna throw a bunch of compostables at each path, build a path, put wood chips on top, and then start making these into the raised beds they are. The sides here we'll be nailing in like a mesh. I'm gonna do an earthen plaster or just heavy clay and do a nice smooth finish, plastering on the outside. And every year it'll need a little bit of touch up, but it won't be bad. And it'll only be for those beds that go deeper into the ground. The middle here, I'm really piling up. I want it to look like a hemisphere from the ground, so that when people are driving up from over here, they look and it's not just a sunburst with flowers and salad fixins and all that stuff. It's a sunburst coming out of the ground, right? Like a very 3D vibe and feel. So when I get done with these trenches up here over the next couple days, I'm gonna be wanting as many branches and whatnot from people to just start filling them back up with compostables that are going to build beautiful soil, inoculating the space. As the water comes down the hill here, the idea is that the garden absorb it all instead of having a drain to this drain. The water will still get down, the aquifers and stuff like that, but we're gonna give it a little detour. Have it go through this garden where it soaks it up like a sponge. And the goal is to not have to irrigate at all, which is going to be really tough in the hot Kentucky summers, I know, but we can get real close to not having to do it at all, to just have a little, oscillating mister that just kind of takes the scald off, the scorch off in the summer. And we're not really worried about keeping the soil wet so much as keeping the wilt off the plants. That's the goal. So as you can see, I've had talked to the city, head city official by today, eyeballing it a little more. I'm right up against the edge of what their comfort zone is, but I've done a lot of the prep of going to these people in advance and sending them links of gardens I've done in other communities and like telling them like how this is going to work. The big concern with moving terrain around is, are you going to create flooding on your neighbor's property? And they understand that this actually is catching more water, the opposite of that. And it's a lot of work. I think around here people respect somebody that puts a lot of labor into something and are more willing to say, okay, let's see what you got, pal. It's going somewhere. Keep going and manage expectations. That's everything. Managing expectations. So we want to have a little free food thing out here. This is 10 to 15 feet of right of way we're on, so the stuff up here we're going to be growing will be kind of non-committal, lettuces and whatnot up front that can just be like replanted if ever the city needs to come through and do something. Nothing serious. You know, mostly what I'm looking at here are yellow and red flowers to pop like a sunflower look for the whole thing. A sun and flower look for the whole thing. And then also at night, have some night blooming things that give a moon as well, with circles radiating out from the middle in the landscaping rather than rays. So there'll be like a day and night version of the garden. That's the idea. Ton of work. You're looking at about somewhere between 40 and 50 hours of labor right now, and it'll probably be about 60 before it's all dug out to how I want. Also, we were gonna save this out for a parking spot, but I think since we have 20 rays right here, there's just enough room for 4 more. So we're gonna go ahead and do 24 raised beds and use this space and not keep it as a parking space, just use it as garden. And so when I get around here, I'll be flipping that over. And the trenching is less severe in this area. As you can see, I mean, look at the difference in soil, right? And this is the lower end of the garden, so front yard. So this is what will catch and has caught the water the most over the years. And you can see it's more brown, and up here it's more dry because the water hydrophobic just slides right off the hydrophobic soil, and so we don't get any kind of staying power for the water here. But I'm adding, even within these trenches, little sub trenches, because everywhere the water can get down to eventually will turn into good soil. And you can see up here it starts to get better again, particularly up against the house where there's runoff. See how much darker that soil is? So little by little, getting this in place. And the thing is, one time, I just gotta do this one time. And after that, it's just maintaining the beds and paths, which is far less work than tilling every year. And when you just keep adding those compostables, your soil gets so strong, so robust, the plants become so strong and so robust that you don't even need pesticides, no spraying. It's just a natural ecosystem building the soil that you're creating. So some of this has been repeat, but I just want to make sure you all know as you drive by what's all going on. You know, I know there's people outside of Mayfield who have ties to Mayfield that are following as well. But I mean, this is another way to do your front yard. Never gonna have to mow again, never gonna have to till. As we build, we'll just call it chaos gardening in a way, where you just toss out the seeds for each bed at the right time, the right season, and keep bringing in free mulch and feeding the soil, increasing the organic matter, increasing the water retention, and just be less and less labor for more and more yield with each passing week, month, and year. So I feel pretty good about it. I guess I better get back to work.